So I'd open up with the Persona 5 at home joke, but I'm pretty sure like dozens of people have probably already made it. So I'm not going to do it today. Hello there, people of the internet. This is a weird one. So I knew this existed for a couple weeks now, but I really didn't feel like I had too many strong opinions on it until I read more. But today I want to talk to you guys about Persona 5: The Phantom X. Now, this was a game that was teased back in 2021 as being Persona 5 X was the smaller version of the title, and everyone kind of assumed it would be like some sort of either crossover game or it was going to be just a different spin-off, a unique kind of spin-off. But I don't think anyone was really anticipating a Chinese gotcha mobile game, but that's what we're getting. And when I first heard this, I saw kind of waves of hate kind of being, or at least mild disdain from this Persona fandom, right, being thrown at this game for a multitude of different reasons. But the number one reason that I want to talk to you guys about that I wasn't too concerned about, but my concerns have grown to something else. The game was announced, this spin-off of Persona 5. They're making yet another spin-off of Persona 5 that no one really asked for, instead of, releasing the Persona 5 fighting game that people kind of want. And Persona 6 is nowhere in sight. Why I wasn't really too concerned or angry about that, whenever I heard someone complain on the internet about, Persona 6 isn't announced yet, my first thought was, this is your first time, huh? Like, I remember when I played Persona 4 in 2008, and then, Persona 5 wasn't released until 9 years later, 2017. Keep in mind, too, they announced Persona 5 in like 2012 or 13. I forget which year. It was one of the E3s, in either 2012 or 13. And they delayed it multiple times to the point where it became a 9-year release game. It was 4 or 5 years after the release or the announcement of the title that they finally released it. And I think with this release cycle, they want to milk Persona 5 because it's easily the most successful title Atlus has produced. Sega's also at the helm with this too now because Sega owns Atlus, right? But on top of that, I think they just really want to refine what they have for 6 and wait to show it off without making any promises. Because I think that burned a lot of people who were really excited for Persona 5 to, expect it in like 2014, 2015, and then not get it years later. It definitely feels like they're taking their time with it, which is something I appreciate. Like, I would prefer to have a game announced 6 to 7 months before it's coming out than have it be announced Kingdom Hearts style, where it's announced a decade before it's actually going to come out, and then we're left waiting and waiting and waiting as it gets delayed and delayed and delayed, because that tends to cause a lot of not necessarily animosity but negativity about the production of the game. Okay, well, why is the game getting delayed so much? Is there trouble with it? Is it going to be buggy? Are we going to have issues? Are we going to feel pressured to push it out of the gate? And I don't want Atlus to feel pressured to release Persona 6 because I think they have the groundwork laid for them to make an insanely unique and amazing Persona title with 6, a fantastic RPG, and I want to see them succeed. So that was the main concern I saw. So I kind of dismissed Persona 5 The Phantom X until I saw more of it. Like, I saw a lot of that gameplay trailer. There were screenshots of some of the characters floating around, and I was like, oh, this looks kind of interesting. Let me look into it more. And then that's when I realized it is a gacha game from China. And that was where my negativity kind of seeped in. Now, here's the big thing with this, right? If I recall, Sega officially purchased and really, publishes titles for Atlus ever since like 2016. So I mean, probably Persona 5 Strikers was another title that was, released under Sega's helm as well. But this is kind of like, definitely it seems more like a Sega move than it does an Atlus move, and it's for a few reasons. One of the big ones is, obviously you can tell by this that this game is not being created at all by the Atlus team. So what has me concerned about Persona 5 The Phantom X is that this is the first title in the Persona series that I see without Atlus's name attached to it at all. Now, maybe that's subject to change. It's still in development. Maybe they're going to have more developers and directors from Atlus working on this title. But the only two people who I see whose names are attached to this game are the artist for Persona 5 and the main director for the Persona series. Now, that's concerning because this is completely outsourced as a project. It's being developed by a studio called Blackwing Game Studio and is being published by a studio or a company called Perfect World Games. And it is, as far as we are aware right now, exclusive to China. No one really knows if it's going to be released outside of China or what's going to come of that. But it just kind of, it rubbed me the wrong way when I saw that initially, because, you know, we've had a lot of Persona 5 spin-off titles, and Persona spin-off titles in general since the series has come out. But this definitely feels like something that Atlus doesn't have its stamp of approval on, you know what I mean? Like something that could definitely be perceived as going wrong, and that they might not want to associate themselves with. And what do I mean by this? Why do I think it might be problematic? Well, to put it bluntly, this is going to be a gacha game. It's going to be a gacha mobile game. What is a gacha game? Gacha games are considered titles that are free to play and are extremely predatory in nature, and are usually released in, you know, Eastern countries, in Japan, China, Korea, things like that. And then often some of them, you know, they tend to get ported here. And the expectation is they hook you in with a few free gifts at the beginning. You know, they make you feel like you're making progress. And then as you go through the experience, you know, the gameplay loop becomes addicting. You get enthralled with it. They start introducing paywalls. You know, well, it's going to take me 3 days to get through this one area, or it's going to take me a month to unlock this one character that I want. So the alternative is now, well, I can pay money to get some currency or to unlock a character by doing, you know, opening loot boxes or having microtransactions, you know, stuff like that. And it's extremely predatory. It's meant to suck money out of the consumer. You know, these companies, they define a lot of people who put a lot of money into this stuff as whales, and it can definitely be exploitative to very hardcore fan bases. And what is an extremely hardcore fan base right now? It's the Persona fan base, man. They definitely rub me as the kind that have addictive tendencies and can sit around and, you know, like someone who's dedicated to playing 100+ hour RPG multiple times in the Persona games, you know, when 5 and R came out, or Royal, that definitely feels to me like they're trying to pry into the wallets of the Persona fandom, and it's definitely something that I think it feels a little skeevy. Now, I haven't seen the game myself. I don't know how bad it's going to be. And no one knows because it's not released yet, right? It's not a fully released title yet. But I think we can kind of all come to the consensus that this just kind of feels off, right? Like, I'm not the only one who thinks that this just kind of seems like they're taking the veneer of Persona, the aesthetic of it, and they're warping it into sort of like a cash grab, right? Like a modern day cash grab. And it just kind of like, it definitely baffles me because I don't think this is something that anyone really wanted. Now again, it might not be released outside of China, so maybe there's nothing a lot of people over here in the West have to worry about. But keep in mind, one of the most popular games, not even gacha games, but games that have come from Japan in the last few years was actually Genshin Impact. Now, I'm not a big fan of Genshin Impact. I don't think it's a great game. I played a little bit of it when it first came out, and then I dropped it immediately because I just couldn't get into the whole, you know, you either grind or you pay money thing. But I have friends who play Genshin Impact a lot, and I think they've put a lot of money into that game. And it definitely is like, you know, the effects of these gacha games do have a grip on Western culture as well. And it's definitely like, something that I don't want to see in a way pervert the Persona series, because up until this point, Persona has had no L's, man. No losses, none whatsoever. Every single thing that Atlus has put out for Persona has been A+, and I have had a instinctive trust in them, not only as a development studio, but with Sega now too as their publisher, to trust the IP and the brand, to do quality work, and to really put in a lot of effort to make sure that the consumer doesn't get screwed over. Every Persona game is a fantastic experience with a mountain of content, and it's definitely something that people will love for years to come. And I don't want this to be the first strikeout, the first title that definitely takes a hit in Atlus's record. I don't want this to be the cyberpunk to Atlus, like I don't want this to be that game that tarnishes the kind of the brand of this company, because they've done so great so far. Now again, they are not attached to this title, so will this affect my personal view of Atlus? No. But will this affect my personal view of expecting quality out of the Persona series and the Persona name? 100% yes, if this game comes out. Now, the biggest thing with this title is that it definitely just feels like they're taking assets from Persona 5 and they're just reusing them and repurposing them for a mobile game. The only differences, it seems, are there are new character models for the brand new characters, and then there are kind of like reused assets of characters meshed together. It's like, I don't know if you guys have seen those memes on Reddit of like the main Persona 5 characters like meshed together, like the principal of the school, the egghead guy with Haru's hair. That shit had me dying. But it's like that. It's like they're doing that with this game, where it's like they put Kawakami and Takemi and made them a character and a teacher in the school. It's like and I doubt that the character is going to have anything complex to do with them, right? I think it's just literally they're mashing together characters because they're running out of of assets to use, or they're running out of ideas to throw together. But like, I mean, the only thing that would excuse this Kawakami and Takemi mashup was like if it was actually Kawakami, right? And she like dyed her hair and went to a different, to teach at a different school because she was afraid she would be outed for her sexual relationship with her student. that's like the only way that's justifiable. But like in terms of the story content, but like the thing that gets me about this game is that Persona as a series, as even Persona 5 just as a game, is ripe for exploitation of this kind. It's ripe to be just dismantled and repurposed as a predatory mobile game. Between like, oh well, you'll have daily limits of catching personas or of getting personas, or oh, if you want to swap out moves on your personas, you have to pay a certain currency and it takes time to replenish this currency, or to fuse you have to have a certain gem or something. Like just all these really small things, to anything in the combat, buying weapons, getting replenishments for your health and ammo. All of it just feels like they could take that and try to monetize it in game. And with so many moving parts of RPGs, especially of a game like Persona, I can definitely feel like this game has the potential to prey on fans who just want to experience a new Persona title. This is a really bad time for this to come out for the Persona fandom. A lot of people are really ravenous. They really want to see Persona 6, a new title, and they'll try to get a new fix any way they can, right? And Persona 5, the Phantom X, it might be that new fix for them, sure, but it'll be an unhealthy fix. It'll be one that makes them lose money. Now, like, am I going to tell anyone to spend any money the way that I want them to? No, you spend the money you way you want to spend your money, right? It's your money, whatever. But I will always advocate and tell people directly to their face whether or not I think it's a good idea, like I don't think it's a good idea to buy into a lot of these mobile gacha games, because we've seen this so many times with titles across the board. The best example I gave last video I made was like with the recent shutdown of the Nintendo eShop on the 3DS and the Wii U, which that actually just happened today. The thing about this is that while you don't have any tangible hold on any of the purchases you make in these gacha games, and the second that the servers go offline for this game in 10 years and 5 years, whenever they feel like it's not profitable enough for them, you lose everything. You lose everything you worked up until that point to get. And at that point, was it worth it in the moment? Was it worth it to not have a mark on any sort of impact you had with this title? I don't think it would be. You know, I'm someone who, again, I love to preserve games, replay them, go back. This game is going to have a very limited replay time and window, which is going to feed into that FOMO that people have about wanting to play this, right? Like, because when the servers go offline and people aren't able to buy things or pay for them, even pirating this game will be close to impossible. And honestly, it's why I think this is bait. This is complete bait. Now, what do I mean by bait? I mean, like, this is something meant to really garner the attention of the hardcore fans and to milk money out of them. And if I imagine there are a good amount of people who watch my content and who watch my videos who are big fans of Persona 5, who are big fans of the Persona series. And I just want to tell you, do not buy into the bait. Please do not buy into it. I mean, again, do what you want. It's your money. But just be aware that this definitely feels out the gate as being super exploitative. Like, it's coming out at a really opportune time for this type of title to be released, and it's definitely something that I think is expected to tide over Persona fans, but in all the wrong ways. And it's primed in so many ways to be very, very exploitative of your time, your money, your attention, and I mean, hopefully it's not the case. Hopefully I'm wrong and things end up being better and this title ends up releasing in a really quality way and it doesn't feel exploitative and you can play the game without feeling like you have to dump hundreds of dollars. But at the same time, man, it's a mobile game announced to be released only in China right now by a Chinese development studio. To me, I don't know, that just feels skeevy, you know, because again, right off the gate, whenever a Persona spinoff is announced, Atlas usually always puts its stamp of approval out there. They're like, we're releasing this everywhere. I haven't thought of a Persona title that at least hasn't been announced to be released in Japan, right? Like, and right now, we don't even know if this is going to be released outside of China. Like, so maybe there's something about it, whether it's because they haven't seen the final product yet or they don't know how far along it's developing, that makes them uncertain of whether or not they want this to be spread to the fandom overall. But let me know what you guys think. I want to hear your opinion on Persona 5 The Phantom X. I'm probably not going to play it. I'll probably just sit here and wait patiently for another, what is it now? Oh god. Like, 3 years for Persona 6's announcement. So, but yeah, I appreciate you guys for listening to me ramble about this. Stay safe out there. Don't do anything stupid. I appreciate you for watching. Thanks for tuning in. See you later.